A very good morning and a welcome to the future, to the new TOPdesk. Now, what we're going to be talking about today, and actually something that you'll hear a lot about all through the day, is service excellence and how your organisation can hope to achieve it. And of course, there's a huge number of different factors, a huge number of influences that come into play with service excellence. And one of those factors will be the tool that you use and how that you use it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to look at the brand new TOPdesk and see how it can work together within your organisations. Now, if you were present at Walter's presentation this morning, you will have noticed that he will have given you a few teasers, if you will, of the new system, just to whet your appetite and to get you ready for this moment now. In fact, over the past weeks and months, if you had contact with TOPdesk, you might have also seen images like this to get you ready for this moment. I know for a fact that everyone here, the team in TOPdesk, have been working very hard on this, and it makes us very proud to stand here now and show off, essentially, what we've made. So how are we going to do it? How are we going to jump into the new TOPdesk? Well, because there is so much to see, and we can't possibly cover everything, we're going to break it down into different sections. We'll start off by reminding ourselves of some of the key themes that are core to TOPdesk, and I want you to when you notice these key themes, look out for them in the software if you can, see if you can spot where they will come up. We're then going to break the software down on a case-by-case basis. So we'll cover 4 cases. 2 will focus on the end user and the experience that they have. And 2 will focus on the operator and the journey that they take through TOPdesk. Finally, we will wrap up with a summary and a take-home message. So, without further ado, let's remind ourselves of some of those key themes. And the first one that you will hear a lot about in the coming day is customer centricity. Now, this really is the idea that the customer is the king. They should be at the forefront of all of the decisions that you make, and the reason for your existence, essentially, is to make them happy. And something that the customer understands, something very tangible to them, which they access on a daily basis, is services. And your departments, such as audiovisual services, if you can still hear me, I'll carry on. So your departments, brilliant, will give a whole range of different services. An example that I'm just using here to illustrate this is, for example, printing services. To the end user, they're very used to asking for this. They're very used to requesting printing services, but what they don't realize is that at the back end, there's a whole number of different service flows that can be utilized. So it might be that you answer questions about how to run the printer, how to change the paper. It might be that you fix it when it breaks down. It might be the maintenance and upkeep, ordering of new cartridges, everything that needs to happen to keep it running. What the end user sees is the service, which is why we think that your portal should be like your service catalogue. It should be somewhere that they can go and easily access all of the services that you have on offer. And we kind of like to think of it a bit like a shop window. So you can go to a shop and look at everything on display, have a little browse and a pick at what might be useful to you at that moment. Kind of, again, showing off what your department has to offer. So, customer centricity and the services-focused approach to your portal, very key. The other theme that we're going to talk about, and we'll demonstrate in the software, is the theme of shift left. Now, this is a real trend that's kicking off in the industry at the moment. We see many people utilizing this idea that knowledge really is power. Just to sum up very briefly, shift left is the idea of using knowledge to help move the moment of resolution to as left as possible. And by that I mean enabling the end user to solve any problems that they can, and your first line operators to solve things, perhaps instead of escalating them to a second line or a third line resolver group. Now, this is obviously great for many reasons. You could save lots of time, you could save lots of costs, but what we see as a really great reason is the empowerment that this gives to the end user, because they leave feeling pretty great about themselves if they can solve something themselves. So, 2 key themes I want you to look out for in the software: customer centricity and shifting left, because now it is time for our very first case study. And I'd like to introduce you to a very good friend of mine. This is John Dean. He has accompanied me on many demonstrations of TOPdesk, and he's going to do a good job for us today as well. Now, John Dean isn't very happy. In fact, he has 2 problems in his life. I did hear someone say earlier that he had 99 problems, but I ignored them. That wasn't true. He only has 2. And they are, first of all, that the hot water, for some reason, isn't working in the building. Him and his colleagues have noticed this, and they want to rectify it pretty quickly. So that's the first thing. The second thing is a little bit more personal to him. He's got a meeting this afternoon with a member of his team that is retiring. And in order to conduct the meeting, he needs to print off some very important documents. And as luck would have it, his printer is completely broken. So he needs to sort that out as well. So now we know who John Dean is, let's jump into the new TOPdesk and see how he tackles these scenarios. Okay, so I'm going to log into the portal now as John Dean. And this is the very first thing that he sees. And what you'll notice is a very crisp, very clean interface, very much in line with things that the end user expects to see when they type something into their browser. So we've done things such as placing the search bar right at the top, so it's very easy to navigate your way through the portal. It's also based on an icon-driven approach. And the best thing is that all of the icons that you see here are completely customizable by you. So whether that's the size, the color, the text, the photos, you really can pull across your corporate themes and color schemes into this. I'd like actually to draw your attention to an area at the very top right of the screen called the broad service disruptions, because you'll notice that there's something very relevant here for Mr. Dean, because it's now possible in TOPdesk to publish things that disrupt your services, your major calls, and your major incidents to the portal to make your end users aware. So John Dean is able to go in here and click on this major incident. Now what he can see here is not only does the service desk already know about this problem that he was going to log, so he doesn't need to get in touch with them, but he's also reassured because he can see that an engineer has been called out, so it's being worked on. That doesn't stop him, however, from perhaps wanting to register that it has affected him. So you see here the option to do so. And what this does in the back end is it automatically creates a call for John Dean and links it to the parent major call. So the operators can manage everything, all the people that were affected, as well as the parent major call, all in one place. So John Dean's pretty happy. He doesn't have to call anyone up. He knows it's being worked on. So I'm just going to go back to the home screen now. And we'll have a think about how John Dean will tackle his second problem, which is his printer issues. And just before we do that, I'd like to tell you a little story about some of the research that was done in designing a portal such as this one. Because when doing research, TOPdesk actually discovered that there are 2 types of people in the world. And I didn't realize how true these 2 people were until I found myself fitting directly into one of those categories the other day. And it all comes down to how you do your shopping. So I want to see if any of you guys relate to this. So when I go shopping, I go to the supermarket, I like to get my trolley, and I like to push the trolley up and down every single aisle that I can see available to me. I like to have a browse, basically, and maybe get some inspiration for this evening's cooking, go up and down aisles that I don't even really need to get anything from, just to make sure I'm getting the best deals. Now, I am aware that not everybody shops like this. Some people prefer to go directly to the aisle where the item that they need is. These people usually have lists. They work straight from the list, like, right, I need eggs, I'm going to go straight to get eggs, go to a different aisle to get exactly what they want. It equates to online shopping as well. So when I'm online shopping, I like to browse through the icons, have a look at the bakery section, the dairy section, look through the offers available, whereas other people like to go straight to a search bar and search directly for the thing that they need. So we have 2 types of people. We have your clickers, who like to browse and explore, and you have your searchers, who like to search directly for the thing that they need. And just out of interest, actually, I want to gauge the differences here. Can I have a show of hands who would consider them to be a clicker like me? Anyone like to have a browse through? Okay, a few people. We are in the minority clickers. We stay strong together. What about the searchers? Show of hands for the searchers? Okay, majority of people, this probably comes down to the Google effect, actually, like to search in a bar for something. And I actually know that John Dean himself is a searcher, so we can see how he tackles this. So, he's very likely to come straight to the top search bar and start searching for his problem. And what TOPdesk does is not only does it search, as we would expect, the knowledge base to see if there's some useful information, it searches every aspect of TOPdesk for something that's relevant to help him solve his problem. So that might be something that's come from the knowledge base, yes, but it might be a service that you've published. It might be a form that you've designed. It might even be a historic request that John Dean has logged in the past that could help him on his journey. In this case, he's going to go straight through to a services page. Here he can have a look through at the printing services that you provide. And again, this is coming back to your customer-centric approach and your sort of shop window, showing off what you do. And he can, of course, go through and fill out a printer malfunction form. Now, we are going to see a few forms in TOPdesk, and every one that you see is completely designable and customizable by you using our drag-and-drop form designer. But what I would like you to pay attention to is as John Dean starts to type, keep your eyes on the right-hand side on that frequently asked questions section, because he's going to have a small moment of madness here and start trying to log a call about the air conditioning. And you'll notice that TOPdesk is still searching. Even at this point in his journey, it's still suggesting things that might help him. So he can click on these, which are now relevant to what he's typed, and browse through them. Perhaps this will help. In this case, he will now remember, no, I'm actually logging a call about my printer. And again, it searches on the right-hand side. Now, a really nice feature about the knowledge items that it's bringing up here, which is often overlooked, is it's now possible to leave feedback. So I can see at the bottom of the screen here, I can say, is this helpful to me, yes or no? And the reason why this is really good is that you're not just giving your end users a huge amount of knowledge and leaving them on their own. Say, right, here is this information, try and fix it yourself. You're saying to them something very different. You're saying, here's this information, but we're still listening to you. We still want to understand what you think about it so that we can change it to suit you better in the future. So you're already forming a connection with the end user, even though you haven't necessarily spoken to them at this point. In this case, Mr. Dean is going to go through and fill out the form. And the page is not found. So, once he's done those two things, he's crossed off his list the two problems that were in his life at the moment. But what we see in today's modern world is that you're not always at your desk when the problem strikes, and you might want to preemptively log a call for something when you're not actually available to log it from your desktop. So, we're very proud to announce the design and launch of the new TOPdesk app, which will allow the end users to log on to TOPdesk and register a problem wherever they are in the world. So, I'm going to hop into Google Play now to show you this in real life. You can come in and download the TOPdesk app, and it looks a little bit like this. So, you easily connect with your TOPdesk environment either by scanning a QR code or logging in. You then have access to logging a brand new problem or looking for updates on problems that you've already logged. So you can see things that you've logged in the past and see any updates. So maybe the operator is working on it or they've provided some more information for you. All this can now be accessed from the palm of your hand. So it doesn't matter if John Dean is in a meeting in Japan, he can still log a ticket about his printer sitting in the London office. So let's step back out of TOPdesk now and have a think about what we've just covered. Because typically, we see within organizations, when there are problems like this, there can be reluctance from the end user to try and solve them, either because they're reluctant to get in touch with the service desk because they're aware people are busy, or they know that they might have to try and solve it themselves, and they don't really know how to go about doing it. But what we've done is we've turned that perception on its head, because not only was it so easy for John Dean to navigate the portal because it was customer-centric, but actually maybe when he got there, he didn't even need to log a ticket in the first place because of the shift left. So it makes your end users feel pretty great about themselves, rather than the negative association that can sometimes happen when something breaks. But what about your operators? How does it benefit them as well? Well, I'd like to answer this question by asking you a question. How much time would you say as a service desk that you end up wasting? How many calls do you answer that are repetitive over and over again? Do you ever find yourselves picking up the phone for incidents that you already know about, and it might take time away from you solving them? All of these things the portal can help resolve by empowering the end user to do these things themselves, so that you don't have to waste your time doing them, so you can really focus on the things that challenge you and the projects that you want to work on. So, let's now move on to our second case study for the day. And we're still with Mr. John Dean, but we're with him a little bit later on in the afternoon. And you might remember that he had a meeting to go to with his team member that was going to retire. So this is the first thing that he needs to do this afternoon. He needs to kick off the leaving process for this employee. There's a couple of other things he needs to do as well. He's noticed that his supplies are running a little bit low, so he wants to order some new office supplies, some few items of stationery, and also a new company phone. So let's jump back into TOPdesk again now and see how he tackles these new scenarios. I'm going to stay logged in as John Dean, but I'm going to imagine that John Dean isn't a searcher, he's actually a clicker, and maybe he's going to browse through some of these tiles instead. So if we start off with the items that he needs to order, he could go to look for his office supplies, perhaps from the office facilities tile, and click through to get where he needs to go. Now, before we've taken John Dean directly to a form to fill out, or somewhere that he can order these office supplies, we've taken him first of all to a services page. And what we're doing here is we're providing him with all the information that he needs before he goes through and makes his request. So the waiting time around the things that he can order, so that his expectations are managed before moving forward. He can then, of course, go through and make the request. And this is a really nice new functionality here. This is the web shop, where the end user can come in, pick things from the shop, and add them to their cart in a very Amazon-style way of ordering. Continue through and complete their order. You can again have a custom form here, so put in the reason for your request. So, because I am greedy, and he can go through and submit the order. Excellent. So for your consumable items like this, that works very, very well, but you might want to have a slightly different process in place if your items are more expensive in nature, such as a company phone. So let's see how John Dean might tackle ordering a phone instead. He's going to go through now to the My Workspace tile and to the mobile phone services page. And again, we're coming back to that services-centered approach where we give a service page published to the end user. So John Dean will know exactly what make of phone he can expect. He'll know the data contract sitting around it. He'll know when it's going to turn up. So he's not going to phone the service desk next week and say, why hasn't my phone arrived? He knows there's a 3-week waiting period for it to be set up. So that when he does get through to the final stage, request a company phone, he has all of the information that he needs and could go in and fill the form in. Again, you're seeing a customized form here, completely designable by you. And the job is done. So I'm going to go back to the home page now for John Dean's final task, and that was to kick off the employee leaving process. And it might be that for processes such as these, only certain people are allowed to kick them off. You might not want everyone in your organization to be able to start or control such a specific process. So, you'll notice at the bottom here, we have a manager self-service tile. And that's because it's now possible with these tiles to have very strict visibility rules around them, so that perhaps only managers or certain locations will see very specific tiles. So John Dean can go in here. He sees a range of things hidden behind these visibility rules, for example, reports that could be published, a new starter process, and the great one for him, the employee leaving. Once more, the services page is displayed to him so he can see all of the timescales around this process and go through and fill out the form. So, let's jump back into the presentation again and have a think about what we've done, because there was a reason why we chose these specific examples to go through. Things such as employee leaving, ordering of new items, we typically see that they can be challenging ones for organizations to work with, simply because there are so many different departments involved. So John Dean, for example, he might want to kick off the employee leaving process and know, well, HR usually deal with that, but this employee, they had so many IT assets, I definitely need to keep IT informed, and I want to move their office space as well, so should I get in touch with facilities before or after I get in touch with HR? This is something that John Dean doesn't need to worry about. So what we have given him is one place to ask his questions, one place to log his requests and his problems, one portal to rule them all. This is what happens when I'm allowed to take control of a presentation. I'm afraid there's a lot of cheesy jokes, so you'll get used to them. Yes, one portal to rule them all. It really comes down to shared services and sharing processes and a tool within your organization which has massive benefits for the end user. Shared services is actually something that's very much part of TOPdesk DNA, something we've been preaching for a long time, and that we have built into the new software to make it as simple as possible. But sharing services doesn't only benefit the end user, of course. It also has massive benefits for these guys, your operators. Well, why is that? Because just as there is uncertainty for the end user about which department to approach first, there's also uncertainty for the operator as well. So they might not know whether to progress if HR haven't signed something off. They might not know whether authorization had already been given by a manager. Again, these are worries and time wasters that your operators just do not have the time for. So, whenever John Dean fills in a form, it will automatically spark off a process in the back end that will automate all of the tasks to go to the right person at the right time. So your to-do list is populated with the things that you need to do when you need to do them. Don't need to worry about HR doing their work. They will have received their tasks just the same in their to-do list. It's time now to move on to our third case study for the day. And we're going to look at someone a little bit different now. We're going to leave John Dean behind, and I'd like to introduce you to Dawn Meadows. Now, Dawn is an operator in TOPdesk, and she has a to-do list of her own to work through. So we're going to go through and see how she manages her workload and how she keeps track of the things that she needs to work on. One of those tasks in particular is going to be very interesting because it will be something that she can't, at the moment, solve herself. So she's going to get a supplier involved to help her solve it. Now, another thing that we notice with organizations is the way that we communicate with our suppliers can be quite tricky. In fact, communication in general has changed so much over the past year. Let's see actually if we can illustrate this within the audience. Okay, so I'd like you to think about how you communicate with your friends and your family, how you might organize meeting up with them, even if they're spread all over the globe. Does anybody use or utilize instant messaging systems such as WhatsApp or iMessenger to do this? And with a show of hands, if you use systems such as that. Great. Pretty much everyone does nowadays. The day of the text message and the email is dead, because we are used to be able to send an instant message to anyone in the world. All they need is an internet connection. We're used to be able to send photos, send locations, add multiple people to groups to engage in group conversation easily. It's something that we expect in our personal life. So why don't we expect this from business as well? And that's why TOPdesk has created Workaid. Workaid is going to be that seamless connection between your supplier and your operator, so you can communicate instantly with them, so you can share information, photographs, locations. All you need is a connection to the internet. Now, this is a very exciting development, and we'll see now in Dawn Meadows' experience how she does use the new Workaid functionality to do this. So let's jump back into TOPdesk again. And we're going to say goodbye to the self-service portal and log in as Dawn Meadows to the operator side. Now, the first thing that Dawn sees, again, just like the self-service portal, is a very crisp, very clean interface, because we don't want to give something to the end users that looks great, but leave your operators in a grey, clunky, outdated system. We want the same consistency throughout, so that your operators actually enjoy working in TOPdesk. On the page now, we have the home screen. This is the first thing that your operators will see when they log in. And again, it's completely customizable to the way that you want to work. So all of these widgets are completely draggable and droppable. All of the shortcuts on the left-hand side can be completely customized by you. So you can really tailor your home screen so that it suits you best when you log in and displays the things that you need to see to do your job. I'd just like to draw your attention to the taskboard widget here. Your taskboard is essentially your to-do list. It's somewhere that you can come and easily manage the tasks that have been assigned to you. And what it's now possible to do is to filter these tasks to suit best what your role is for that day. So, for example, on the left-hand side here, maybe I want to see absolutely all of my tasks at the moment, or maybe I just want to see the things that I need to do for tomorrow. I can drill down in such a way. Perhaps if I've got a really hectic, busy day, I just want to focus on the things that are overdue so I can get them out of the way. You may also want to filter by the things that are assigned, so whether they're assigned to you personally or to your group. You can also drill down and say, I don't want to focus on my reactive calls at the moment. I might just want to focus on my changes and my projects instead. So depending on how you want to work, you can set up your to-do list to manage that workload. I'm just going to open the printer error 1990, because our friend John Dean does seem to log an awful lot of these. Someone perhaps might need to give him some help with his printer. What we can see here on the ticket is as Dawn Meadows starts to process it, TOPdesk is helping her along the way by suggesting things such as standard solutions. This light bulb will pop up whenever TOPdesk searches and sees a standard solution which would be applicable to help fix this problem. So, for example, I can see here the printer error 1990, and the solution will be applied automatically to the ticket. It might even close it off automatically for me if I wanted it to. Exactly the same with SLAs as well. So if you do have any service level agreements within your organization and TOPdesk spots somewhere where it would apply, the small pen here will light up and you can easily apply your service level agreement. Now, in this case, it might be that Dawn can't actually solve this printer problem. It might be something that she needs to communicate with the supplier for because it is quite technical in nature. So now I'm going to take you to a new tab in TOPdesk at the top, the Workaid tab. Now, what the Workaid tab will show on the main body of the page is the area where you will have your discussion with your supplier, where you'll be able to instantly send messages to each other. It's very easy to add numerous suppliers to the conversation. In this case, I've gone ahead and added myself. I don't know if some of you might have known this. I actually moonlight as a printer engineer in my spare time, so Dawn is actually going to escalate this to me to see if I can solve this one. Dawn can also bring across key information from the call that might help the supplier solve this. Pull this information across and send it through. You can also generate useful things such as work orders, and again, this will appear for the supplier in an instant messaging type format. So work order, replace, component, and I can give a time frame that I expect that piece of work to take. And then the work order is sent. Now, what your supplier will receive depends on how they want to work. They will have a notification which will allow them to access this interface here where the conversation has taken place. So they may choose to access this on the browser, on their laptop. But what we see is that most suppliers, because they're out and about, they tend to work by phone. So when the supplier sees this, they can come in. Perhaps they're working on the call at the moment. They want to take a photo of what they're doing. Smile, everybody. So they're basically able to keep Dawn Meadows informed as they go along. Maybe they're running a little bit late. Maybe they want to give some more information, ask some questions about what model of printer it is. It's all possible using the new work aid. And once they're all done, they can sign off on their work order to say that they've completed the work, and it's all done. So there we go. Supplier has done the job. Dawn Meadows can see exactly the conversation that's gone on. She can also come in here and close the conversation when it's ready to be finished, and process the call to close it off. So let's jump back into the presentation again and think about what's happened here. Because again, what we tend to see is that communication between your operator and your end user flows really, really well. Usually because you're either all in the same location, so you can just go and talk to each other, or you're used to phoning each other and emailing each other, and you know how to get in touch. But with your suppliers, it could be very different. Depending on who your supplier is, maybe they're a very large organization, maybe they're quite small, they'll have different ways of communicating. They might even have their own tool, or they might prefer, if they're quite small, to work via text message, which is where work aid comes in. It bridges that gap between the operator and the supplier. So you have this seamless flow in the life cycle of your call so that everyone is informed along the way. It's now time for our fourth and final case study for today, because Dawn Meadows has been given a very important task by her manager. She's been asked to add a brand new tile to the self-service portal. So she's been swatting up on her HTML and her JavaScript, and she's ready to code in the new tile. Not so. She's going to use the brand new TOPdesk portal designer to help her do this. So we're going to jump back into TOPdesk now and see how she does this. I've actually added a shortcut on the left-hand side to the portal designer because it might be something that Dawn Meadows does a lot. But again, you can completely customize this to suit you. The first thing that you will see when the portal designer pops up for the first time are some tool tips to help you on your way so that you're not daunted by a new way of working. We are going to help you out. Of course, if you're feeling a bit savvy, you can get rid of these and start from scratch. The main body of the screen is taken up by an interactive, like-for-like display of what the portal looks like for your end users at this moment. You can scroll through and click on any tile to make any changes to it. As soon as you've clicked on a tile, all of the relevant settings to do with this tile will pop up on the right-hand side. So, for example, I could come in here and change the image, change the title that sits behind it. In this case, Dawn actually needs to make a brand new tile from scratch. She scrolls down to the bottom of the page, she spots the add tile function. TOPdesk then pops up with a whole range of different types of tiles that you could add. Now, these could be default tiles that would lead to maybe the knowledge base or to a custom form that you've made. It could even lead to a shortcut to an external website. In this case, Dawn's going to build a bit of structure into the portal and take the user on a journey by adding a subpage. The subpage icon then appears. I can come to the right to change maybe the image. Of course, there are some standard images that come out of the box, but you might want to upload your own. I'm going to pick the car because this is going to be a tile about the travel arrangements that you can book within the organization. So I can change the text here, and you'll notice at the bottom, if I wanted to, say perhaps only specific individuals could access the travel arrangements, I can apply visibility rules. Next stage, once you've made your initial tile, is to customize the subpage behind it. So I simply double-click to go through to my blank subpage. And again, the process is really simple. Add a new tile. In this case, I think we're going to put an icon straight through to a customized form, and it's going to be the cycle to work scheme form. It's very easy from there to change the size of the tile. Again, I can come in, change the image if I want to. And also add any extra text. And it's as easy as that. Now, because Dawn is quite meticulous, she does want to double check that everything is in order before this goes out. You wouldn't want to publish a cycle to work scheme form if perhaps the form was still only half finished. So it's possible to open the service flow sitting behind that tile and check that it works as you expect. So here she can see the form that's going to go out to the end user. If there are any changes that she wants to make to it, she can easily edit it with the drag and drop designer so that everything appears in the right place. And when she's happy, she simply has to click save, and it will appear instantly in the portal. So let's jump back for one final time into the presentation to see what we've covered. Because when Dawn Meadows was working today, it didn't matter if she was managing her day-to-day tasks, or adding a new tile to the portal, or liaising with a supplier. Whatever she did, it was simple. It wasn't overcomplicated. It was easy for her to do. And that, again, is something that's very core to our beliefs in TOPdesk. We believe in standardized, simple software that is a joy to use, and it comes down to something called the KISS principle. I don't know if anyone has heard of the KISS principle before. It stands for keep it simple, stupid. Now, I could see some worried faces because people thought I was going to come and start invading their personal space, but that wasn't the case. Keep it simple, stupid. Why overcomplicate things when they don't need to be overcomplicated? Let's make things as easy as possible. The only change that I would make to this is keep it simple, superheroes. Because as cheesy as it might sound, your operators are the heroes within your organization. At the end of the day, they are the guys going out there and fixing the things that break. They are the ones keeping your organization running. So let's make them feel like heroes. Let's make them be able to do their everyday jobs as easily as possible and focus on the things that really motivate them. So, just to summarize all of the points that we've covered, because we have seen an awful lot of new functionality in TOPdesk, and it really is only the tip of the iceberg. If I was allowed some more time, I would be showing you some more. But what we have seen is the theme of customer centricity and the key role that it plays in putting the end user first so they have a portal that's easy to use, whether that's being by a services-centered portal or by making it very easy to navigate. We've also seen how shift left plays a crucial role, that by smart searching throughout the life cycle of the call and suggesting things wherever possible to help the end users, we can reduce the waste for your operators and make life easier for your end users and empower them at the end of the day. We've also looked at the concept of a one portal to rule them all. Obvious benefits for the end users, but for your operators too. There's not that uncertainty about where to go to have things done and who needs to do what when. It all works together. We've seen WorkAid, the brand new communication aid from TOPdesk to enable seamless communication between your suppliers and your operators. And finally, we've looked at how a standardized, simple software can make your operators feel like the heroes that they are. So just out of interest, are Are you guys excited? Are you enthusiastic? Can I see by a show of hands if you've seen at least one thing that you think would benefit your organization if you took it home? Excellent. Now, I want you to remember 2 things from this presentation, and I don't, of course, expect you to remember every single new functionality, because that would be a bit much. 2 things. The first is that one thing that you think will benefit. Take it away with you, think how it would play in your organization. The take-home message is that this is only the beginning for TOPdesk. If you like what you've seen and you've been inspired by some of these new ideas, it really is only our first steps into the new era. And TOPdesk will not be something that's static and stays the same. It's going to grow and develop just as your organizations grow and develop so that we can evolve together. So, I hope you like what you've seen. We said at the very beginning that service excellence isn't something that happens overnight. It's a very complicated thing with many factors. What I hope that you can see is that the tool, a very important factor in your success, the new TOPdesk, can help you achieve your service excellence goals. Thank you very much.